Juggernauts are probably one of the worst things to ever come to Warzone, and it doesn't seem like Infinity Ward is going to nerf or remove them from the game. So in this video, you're going to learn a bunch of things, such as preventing players from getting Juggernauts, the best weapons and equipments for fighting them, and also the best strategies to fight Juggernauts. For the second half of the video, we're going to take a look at a bunch of clips and videos that show what players do right and what they do wrong when fighting Juggernauts. Now, before the video gets started, I must say one thing, not to promote, but something else. I made a video a couple weeks back on how players get Juggernauts. It was very simple, straight to the point. But this video received some of the worst hate I've ever had on my channel. And rightfully so, because Juggernauts really don't belong in the game. You may or may not have seen it, but this video is essentially an apology by teaching you the exact opposite. Instead of teaching you how to get a Juggernaut, I am teaching you how to stop them. And hopefully by doing that, I can kind of restore some balance here. Anyways, let's get started. So first of all, let's talk prevention. 90% of players are going to be getting Juggernauts from doing the subway Easter egg. So knowing that, if you camp at the museum place in the city, or you camp at the subway station that they use, you can stop 90% of Juggernauts that will be in that game. Because whether these people like it or not, they have to go to that point to do the Easter egg. So if you just camp it, you will stop them. Now with this whole prevention strategy of camping at the subway or the museum, I really wouldn't recommend this if you're trying to win. It just doesn't make sense to sit in one spot for 10 minutes of the game and sacrifice all that loot you could be getting. But I mean, if you really want to do the lobby a favor, there you are. So in the next part of the video, we're going to be talking about the combat, where we play by the disadvantages of Juggernauts and we turn fights into our favor. So one large disadvantage of Juggernauts is their mobility. They run pretty slow, and knowing that, it's pretty hard to keep up with the storm. So what they do to get around this is they use vehicles. They'll either use that vehicle to chase bounties, or they'll just use it as a getaway when they're camping. I've seen many times where Juggernauts just get themselves to a house, and then they just park the car right outside. And when it's time to move, like when the storm comes in, they just hop in the vehicle and go to the next building. Very disgusting way of playing. But knowing this, you could turn this to your advantage. First off, if a Juggernaut is in a vehicle and you destroy that vehicle, they're instantly gonna lose a third of their health. And not only that, it usually leaves them out in the open, no cover, just asking to be shot at. I'd recommend running a Rytech with explosive rounds, or if you like close range, I'd recommend running the Jack 12 with explosive rounds. Both of these are gonna do extremely quick work of taking vehicles out. Now this next tip is way more important, but this is your positioning and how far you distance yourself away from the Juggernaut. I'm going to start off by saying this, and this may earn me a dislike, but never push a Juggernaut. I will say it again, never push a Juggernaut. These bad boys have 30 times the amount of health you have, and they can deck you out faster than you could even aim down your sights. Do not push them. So many clips, I see people complaining about Juggernauts, and all they do is they just throw themselves at the Juggernaut thinking that they could take them down with a single mag. And that is just like one of the most brainless things you could do. So again, do not push a Juggernaut. Let it come to you. I say this because you want to take advantage of the distance between you and the Juggernaut. When they spin up miniguns and they aim down sights, they don't have an iron sight to aim down. They just have like a small crosshair. And that crosshair is only accurate enough to go out to about 60, 70 meters, I would say. Outside of that range, it becomes really inaccurate and it's really hard to kill a player in cover. So if you can make some distance between you and the Juggernaut, you can get in deep cover, even grab a rooftop to head glitch off of, you are going to win way more fights than the player who decides to push the Juggernaut. Now for long distance, the two best guns I would recommend for taking out a Juggernaut are either the Kilo or the AMAX. The Kilo is really neat because of its low recoil, but if you can learn the recoil of the AMAX, it's going to be much more rewarding as it deals much more DPS at longer ranges. Another important thing to mention are kill streaks because they're extremely cheap, but they do a lot of damage against Juggernauts. Kill streaks may be hard to hit Juggernauts with, but when they do, they really pack a punch against them. And not only that, they also get the Juggernaut to either run from a certain position or to stay at a certain position. So if you want to keep them in the circle or keep them in a building, you can use kill streaks to kind of control the area around you. So when you're in the mid game, distance, cover, and kill streaks are going to be the three most important things to fight Juggernauts with. But sometimes you may be forced to fight a Juggernaut. It could be one of the last circles, nobody's touched a Juggernaut, and you're the last player left to deal with them. You know, it happens to all of us. So what do we do in that situation where we're in close range? Now, the first tip to get started is that if you ping the Juggernaut on the minimap, it'll bring an indicator above its head. So for example, if it's in a building and you don't know what floor it's on, you can have yourself or a teammate just quickly ping it on the map, indicator right above its head. This is crucial for endgame situations where the Juggernaut may be in a stairwell with you, or the Juggernaut just may be in a building and you can't tell what floor it's on. Now, in close range situations like this, guns really don't matter, because you can only peek for like a half second before getting shot at. So I can't really tell you what gun is the best for close range. However, there is a certain piece of equipment that is going to do a nice job, and this is the thermite. You can only carry 2 thermites, but they are extremely rewarding if you land a stick with them. If you toss one at a Juggernaut and it sticks to him, it's going to deal at least 30 or 40% of its health in 1 thermite. You can also use the crossbow with thermite bolts, however, it's going to deal a bit less. In my testing, I got at least 15 or 20% of a Juggernaut's health with 1 thermite bolt. Now, in regards to stuns and flashes, they're not really that viable against Juggernauts. It seems like they have a built-in tac mask perk. So if you toss a stun or a flash, they're only going to be affected for like a maximum of 2 seconds, and then they're just going to go right back to shooting you. Meanwhile, a normal player, it's going to be like 4 or 5 seconds before they can get their bearings back. Some players say use shotguns, blah, 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 fire shotgun. But the thing is, if you're getting that close to a Juggernaut, you're just going to take an L flat out. To be able to dump at least 10 or 12 shotgun shells into a Juggernaut without getting killed is going to take some major finessing out of you, and I just wouldn't recommend it. Now, going on to my last tip, this is also extremely important, and this is using the gas to your advantage. Going from before, not only do Jugs not move that fast, but they also don't have a gas mask, and they can't pick one up. So if you can get a Jug stuck in gas, they're going to be taking normal gas damage like a player would if they don't have a gas mask. So in an endgame situation where it's just you and the Juggernaut, you need to get to zone first before the Juggernaut does, and you need to plant yourself deep within it. If you're able to get a circle hold on the Juggernaut and keep the Juggernaut outside of the circle, the gas is going to be doing a bunch of damage to it, and it's going to go down very quickly. So those are the tips and guidelines I could give for fighting Juggernauts in Warzone. Let's take a quick 60 seconds just to wrap up what we learned in the past few minutes. You could prevent 90% of Juggernauts by just camping at the subway station, but it's not likely that you'll get a win. Juggernauts usually get around the map and survive until endgame by using vehicles. So if you're able to destroy vehicles nearby them or vehicles that they're driving, it's going to do a lot of damage and hinder their mobility. Now, in early to mid game, the best way to fight them is to keep your distance, be well in cover, and use your score streaks. Never push a Juggernaut, as you're going to fail 99% of the time. Now, in the late game, positioning becomes even more important, as you want the Juggernaut to be pushed back into the gas. You can keep track of where they are in a building by pinging them for an overhead indicator, and if you have to make contact, the quickest damage that you can do is a thermite stick. Juggernauts are a pretty miserable part of Warzone, and I still don't understand why they're not taken out yet or even nerfed, but hopefully these tips made fighting Juggernauts a little less miserable. So in the next part of the video, we're going to watch some clips as to what people do right and what people do wrong. We're going to watch some of the top players in the world, and then we're also just going to be watching some random people on Reddit. So for our first clip, this is by Iron. He is one of the top Warzone players in the world, currently grinding out solos, and is one of the most genius Warzone players I have ever come across. I use this clip because his handling of the Juggernaut is, again, absolutely genius, and I want you guys to learn from this. So the situation here is that he is up on a rooftop in a top 6 scenario. It is him, a Juggernaut, and 4 other players in a solo game. His setup is an AMAX and an HDR, and he's also running the restock perk with thermites and stuns. Anyways, it's him and the Juggernaut up on the rooftop. What he's trying to do to the Juggernaut is kind of wear off its health and, shave off its confidence a little. For the past few minutes, he's just been sniping at him and wearing down his health, but he finally gets a thermite stick on him, taking out at least 30 or 40% of its health. He knows it's game time, so he hops off the roof, visits a buy station, and buys a cluster strike. He uses the rest of his gas mask by running into the building, but he gets a way better positioning down here. And so for his next move, what he's going to do is call a cluster at his feet. And what this is going to do is help Iron stay hidden from the Juggernaut. Because if the Juggernaut has awareness, he knows that Iron jumped off the rooftop. But by calling in the cluster, he covers up his footsteps and the Juggernaut doesn't know that he's there. If the Juggernaut did know he was there, the Juggernaut would just sit on the stairwell and camp it and Iron would be dead. So he calls in the cluster, opens his door, camper inside, as expected. Shoots back, throws a stun. The stun doesn't hit, so he decides not to take the fight. He knows that he has an AMAX. Assault rifles are very slow in close range, so he knows that even if he swung around the doorway, jumped around at light speed, he still would not be able to win that fight. So for the next moment, he is up in the stairwell. However, the next circle is decided and it's going to the graveyard. So with the Juggernaut, they move really slow. The Juggernaut is not going to go back down all of the stairs. It's just going to move to the other side of the rooftop and then eventually jump off. It's not going to go back down all of its stairs because it doesn't have the time. So knowing that, Iron can predict that the Juggernaut is moving to the other side of the rooftop, and he goes up the stairs on that side. And so you have to remember by now, with the thermite and the several sniper hits, the Juggernaut has no more than 50% health. So Iron comes up here and he uses that and he wears more confidence off of it. Lands another sniper hit, throws a thermite, and the Juggernaut has low health, so he jumps off the rooftop. Gets a couple more hits in him, just wearing away at that health. And so for the next moment, the circle is decided again and it's going past the graveyard. Iron does not see anyone at that wall, so what he decides to do is take a brave move and just jump right to that wall while everyone's still figuring it out. This wall is very important because if you stack up against it, it's a nasty head glitch, and when players look at you, they only see the top of your head, and that's it. Pushes up to the wall, immediately engages a Jug on the left first. He's able to finish the Jug off with a chain of headshots, and then there's two players left. Engages the guy out in the left, he's out in the open, and then he immediately engages the guy on the right. Guy on the right takes a moment, he hops up over the wall, and Iron is able to down him. Immediately, Iron goes back to the left to the guy he downed first, but that guy left the game. He realizes that, and he goes back into cover. Guy on the right self-revives, and Iron is able to finish him off, winning the game. So not only did he defeat a Juggernaut, he also defeats two other players heading directly at him for the win. Brilliant, brilliant clip here. I really wanted you guys to see that and learn from it. Now this next clip comes off Reddit by someone the name of That Albino Kid. And personally, I think this clip is hilarious because he plays a solo game, gets 13 kills, and then throws it all away to a Juggernaut. And I'm going to show you how. So throughout the clip, he's showing his kills, gets a couple with the War Machine, blah, 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 blah. This looks like a kilo. Yep, R9, yep. Nice. The quality of this clip overall is a little but I just want you to get the gist of this. So later on in the game, he has 11 kills and he's over at military base. And so the circle is going right to the runway. So here he is, he downs his next player, finishes him off. But after that, he decides to rotate to the hangar where the Juggernaut is. Think of this though. When the circle is over there, you could go either way. You could go left towards the bottom of the runway and quarry, or you could go to the right, which are the hills here and the cement wall. So he decides to go right to the hangar here where the Juggernaut is. And so here he is with his R9, he shoots a player. Here's a Juggernaut just kind of fooling around the hangar. And he gets ready for him. And what ends up happening is that because he's around the Juggernaut, he ends up getting third partied by another player. And then the Juggernaut third parties him. So again, in these situations, you never want to push a Juggernaut. I cannot stress it enough. He should have either rotated left or he should have rotated right. And it's also just a basic decision of how you're going to rotate. Even if the jug wasn't there, I don't think it was a smart decision for him to go to the hangar, as a lot of other players are going to be using that spot to hide. It's got a hill and it's got an interior. So a lot of players are going to try and take that hill regardless. But that's kind of my rant. Don't push a juggernaut because it's an easy way to throw a 13 kill game. Now this last clip is featured off of Reddit by someone named Landon Cook 5. And this clip is a perfect example of using your cover, keeping your distance, and pushing the jug back into the gas. So the situation, he's in a solo game, it's a 1v1, and he's over by Quarry. He's over in the hills, and the juggernaut has the high ground. So he's using that cover, and he's using that distance to help get shots off into the juggernaut. A full mag of M4 or any other assault rifle that's 60 rounds is going to do about 30% of the juggernaut's health away. So he is just trying to get damage into him as much as he can before the circle pushes him into somewhere that's unpredictable. And so by now he's at least got a full mag wearing away the juggernaut's health, and he's just going to keep going. Now this is the important part, because watch what happens here and look closely at the mini-map. Instead of getting to the circle, the juggernaut gets distracted by the player, and he's just slightly in the gas. Ever so slightly in the gas. And that 5, 6, 7 seconds in the gas is going to do a lot to its health. Remember, they die at the same rate a normal player does. And so this person spends like 5 seconds in the gas, and almost half of his health is gone. So it's the same for the juggernaut. Almost half of his health has been taken away from the gas. And so it comes to the end where the juggernaut has to come to the player, but from all the gas damage and all the bullets, he's one shot. So all this guy has to do is just peek over, finish them off, and that's the win. Very, very easy, but keeping that consistent pressure to keep the jug in the gas is what really won the fight for him. And so this is going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys learned something from it, and I hope you guys enjoy those clips that I just showed you. I really hope they do something with juggernauts, either nerf them heavily, remove them, or just put them in LTMs. Maybe with the Cold War integration, we will see some balancing, but for now, we can only just get better and learn how to fight them. So that's why I made this video. And just one quick reminder, only 1% of my viewers are subbed to the channel. So if you'd like to become part of that 1% of people who are subbed, then I would greatly appreciate that. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, my name is Wetzel, and until next time, peace.